I think today's topic about elder care is very timely. So Ron Peck is going to introduce our speaker today. Ron?
Thank you, Bob. Afternoon, fellow Rotarians. Our speaker today is Linda Fodrini-Johnson. Linda is the founder and executive director of Elder Care Services in Walnut Creek. Linda is a psychotherapist. She has a private practice, but her primary job is, since 1989, acting as the director and president of Elder Care Services in Walnut Creek. She'll be speaking today on aging families, dilemmas, concerns, and resources. Linda is a pioneer in developing programs for individuals with Alzheimer's, dementia, and related problems. She's developed a number of workshops and training for related to aging, dementia, memory loss, and caregiver stress. And for the last 6 years, she served as the director of the Diablo Respite Center, the first social respite center and program for persons with dementia in the East Bay. She currently serves on the Pulse Coalition of Alameda Contra Costa County, and that's an organization that is devoted primarily to advising EMTs and basically ambulance guys who arrive at a scene to deal with the situation of whether the person who has been called for either wants life support or doesn't want life support, or any other kind of special instructions they may have concerning their situation. Linda's here to talk about those various subjects. We're also fortunate to have her husband here, who's in the audience and we were introduced to earlier. So with that introduction, let me introduce Linda Johnson.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I love speaking to Rotary groups, and I believe, since I've spoken to many Rotary clubs, that you live longer, and Wayne proves it. You live longer because you're Rotarian, and there's scientific evidence, actually, that if you have a sense of humor, and that reduces stress. You guys definitely have a sense of humor. A sense of purpose. I could see the purposes on the wall here for this specific club, plus the international purpose. And a sense of generosity. People who give back and are generous live longer. And it's generosity of spirit and your financial resources. I can see, being a member of this club, you have to bring a lot of cash with you, and it gets collected. And then the other thing that I'm going to talk briefly about dementia, I don't have a lot of time, so I can't talk at length about that, but that we know that keeping socially engaged and keeping our minds active, if you're going to get dementia, it pushes it out further. So you're socially engaged. So I believe that should be part of your marketing. You live longer if you're a Rotarian. So anyway, I'm glad to be here. I'm going to talk about aging families and dilemmas, and as we live longer, all of us are part of an aging family because we might be the aging person, and we might want to have those who are younger than us know what our wishes are, and I'm going to get to that as well. But who is providing care for family members? Well, it's you. The last bullet on that slide says 78%, almost 80% of all care in the United States is provided by families. Elder Care Services, my business, we have caregivers, we have professional geriatric care managers, and that's what I do. I'm a care manager. I have a professional degree in counseling, but a care manager has expertise in all the avenues that would affect an elder and their family member, from medicine to law. Not that we do law, but we know the tools that families need, all the housing resources, the entitlements. We have to know it all to help our families. So, but who is providing care? It's families, it's you. And 52 million are caring for somebody who's disabled, adult. 34 million care for someone over 50. 9 million people care for somebody with dementia. With the baby boomer aging, that number is going to double in the next 20 years. There is no answer for Alzheimer's disease. We don't have an avenue to stop that. So the growth of that dilemma and the impact of that on families is going to be incredibly great in the near future. And 60% of all family caregivers are still in the workforce. So somebody's trying to take care of a spouse or mom or dad or Aunt Susie, or maybe it's the next door neighbor with dementia, and they're at their desk. They're trying to work and care at the same time. I have about 3 handouts on the table for all of you, and one of them is about working caregivers. And if you're in a business or an organization, whether it's the fire department or the university, I am a graduate of Cal State Hayward, undergraduate. Wherever it is that you're working, you can take that to your HR department. They could put in the average salary of the employee, the number of employees, and it's a little calculator on that handout, and it's from MetLife. It says the elder care calculator. And it will tell you how much elder care is actually costing your business. I teach for Chevron Oil in the San Ramon Valley 4 times a year, and they actually have classes to educate their employees so they don't take time off. They use the resources in the community. So this is a big problem, and I don't think there's anybody in this room that won't be affected by aging family issues. And what are the major issues that families come to see me about? I've been doing this for about 30 years, and I've kind of listed them in the order of why families call me. Kind of what I might help that family with might not have to do with living safely and independently, but often somebody calls and says, can mom, can dad live independently, or even sometimes, can my husband and I live independently? What can we do to secure our independence? Are they being taken advantage of? Elder abuse, as I said, that dementia number is going up, so elder abuse is going to be more creative. One of the scams my mother was scammed with was, hi grandma, it's your favorite grandson. My mother says, Frank, is it you? And the scammer says, yes, and I'm down here in Palo Alto. I was just in a car accident, and if I report it to my insurance, I'm going to lose my insurance. I might lose my license too. I need you to wire me. My 86-year-old mother never wired money in her life, wired $4,000 to Frank. Frank says he'll pay her back on the weekend. He's got it, not to worry. Okay, she does do that. The perpetrator actually calls back within a few minutes and says, oh, Grandma, don't wire it down here. Wire it to Texas. Texas, you don't need an ID to pick up the money. So my mother went back to Western Union and changed it. But that scam, I was teaching a class not too long ago, and somebody in my audience said, oh my God, that happened to my father today in San Diego. It was granddaughter's story. In Mexico, lost my wallets, wire me. 48, it's always under $5,000. So that's a big scam, but these creative scams are going to grow, and we need to stay in contact with our family members. Are they getting the necessary medical treatments and medications necessary? Do you know what your family member should be taking for medications? Are they getting the treatments? Are they getting the tests they should be getting? Again, with medication and Medicare cutbacks, you need an advocate in the medical system always. All of us do, but especially if you're in your 80s and maybe slightly confused. Memory loss and dementia, what to do about it? Often somebody calls me and says, my mother doesn't have Alzheimer's disease. She forgets sometimes, but she maintains all right. She does fine. I notice she's not paying all of her bills, and she really hasn't been going to the hairdresser as often as she used to go. It makes me suspicious when there's a change of routine, and with families like that, I want to get them diagnosed appropriately. There are many different kinds of dementia. It's not just Alzheimer's disease. There's Lewy body dementia, which is a little like Parkinson's. There's frontal temporal dementia, which affects younger people. Their memory's more intact, but their judgment's very impaired. And their personality seems to get impaired. And wrong medication to people that have a dementia of Lewy body could make things worse. So getting a good diagnostic workup Extremely important. We're fortunate here in the Bay Area. We have UCSF, we have UC Davis at Martinez, we have Stanford for good diagnosis. So we want to get a good diagnosis, and even when it's hard to say my mother has Alzheimer's disease, or I suspect that my father might have had a bunch of strokes, you need a good diagnosis so you can treat. There are some medications that do help people function better. It doesn't stop the process, but there are some medications. Overcaring as spousal caregivers, that's a thing, a question and a concern lots of families will call about. Dad's burning out taking care of mom and he won't let us kids help. Or mom's taking care of dad and she's up all night. We're really worried that she's going to have a heart attack. And I can't tell you over the years, these 30 years, how many well spouses have died before the person that they're taking care of. It's too many for me to even think about that if they had help or shared the care, they might not have died in the process of caregiving, and that stress really caused the well spouse to leave before the spouse they were caring for. People without dementia, or with dementia, when you have dementia, you have no worries. You don't worry about yesterday, or you don't worry about tomorrow, or you don't feel guilty about yesterday. You're in the moment. So people with dementias live longer lives because they're stress-free. But the caregiver burns out if they're not sharing the care. So more major concerns. How do I have a conversation with my dad or my mom about your concerns, or even the next door neighbor? Do they have their financial resources and that they need, and are they managed well? I have had lots of legal roles of clients over the years, and many of my clients have had all their cash assets in their Bank of America checking account earning 0.000001 interest, $500,000. That's not very well managed, but that's where they want it because they don't trust anybody else. Or they haven't met anyone that they trust. It's good, actually, with all that scamming. But entitlements, are my parents getting what they're entitled to? This is a big issue, and one of the resources on your resource list that I have for you has benefitscheckup.org. In that website, benefitscheckup.org is a government website at the Institute on Health, I think, yeah. You put all your information in that website, your Social Security number, and it is secure, and it will tell you what you're entitled to. And I did it for myself a few years ago before I was as old as I am today. And I said, I'm not going to be entitled to anything. I was really surprised to find out I was entitled to a pass to the national parks. So, you could be entitled to something you're not unaware of. But the most important benefit, I think, that's overlooked by most families that don't know it, and I was talking to Lori on our way down here about a daughter who came to see me for a consultation, paid me for an hour of my time, but she left with $20,000 for that hour of time because she didn't know her dad was entitled to the VA benefit, aid and attendant benefit for caregiving. That benefit's also available for spouses of gentlemen that served during World War II, Vietnam, any wartime. Anybody who served during wartime, either they or their spouse or together, can be entitled to up to $1,700 a month for care. In-home care or assisted living care, not skilled care. So that's a huge entitlement that lots of families don't know about. Her parents lived, this woman that I was working with, lived in Oklahoma, and she was sending $1,000 of her own money to help mom and dad pay for their assisted living that she didn't know dad was entitled to. So that definitely was $20,000 to that family. So that's an entitlement. That's just one entitlement. There's lots of entitlements that your parents, your next door neighbor, you might be entitled to. Should dad still drive? How do I take away the car keys, whether it's dad or mom, again, or Aunt Susie or Uncle Jack? How do you do that in a dignified way to protect them and maybe their neighbors as well? And if anyone's dealing with that issue, I have a wonderful brochure in my office from the Hartford Insurance Company, and you could come and talk to me about that. I'll get it sent to you. Where does the family begin this journey? Professional geriatric care managers, on your handout there, I'm past president of the National Association of Geriatric Care Managers, so I actually have friends and colleagues all over the nation. There's about 2,100 of us. It's probably growing. There's a growth is happening in this field because of the need. So a care manager could help direct a family. Classes, support groups, and workshops. When you're on the internet, first look to government websites and AARP. There are a lot of new websites that say they're the best place, the first place, but they're totally business supported, and they're not so much business supported by people who are experts. And so I say first go to government websites and the AARP when you're looking for home. When you're looking for any kind of resource. Home care, how to hire, what questions to ask, and knowing the liabilities for families. And that's could be a whole lecture. But one of the things I want you to be aware of when you hire through an agency, if it's a registry, you're liable for any kind of injury. If it's an agency, they cover that with liability insurance, workman's compensation. So ask questions about how the organization or the agency is run and who has liability. And you're going to want to ask for references as well. Assisted care, the levels of care that are provided in the community go from a small 6-bedroom, like a house, a small home in a neighborhood where you live, to very large, very lovely assisted living communities that might have 3 to 4 levels of care. And the cost in a small home might be as low as $3,000. Sometimes you can get a little bit less. Assisted living probably starts about $3,500. When my mom was in assisted living, she got up to $6,500 a month. So it's not an inexpensive, when she needs lots of levels of care and support, it can be expensive. There's some new alternative options. There's co-housing where you buy your own condo, you share meals, you kind of share talents, help one another in co-housing. The village model is growing. That is started in Boston, where a community, like suppose the city of Hayward wanted to be a village. They get some people who live in Hayward and put together a supportive organization where they have, again, a talent bank. They vet resources. They're kind of a clearinghouse. They provide information and direction and support people to stay in community. There's 2 in the Berkeley area, 1 starting in La Marinda. There's 2 in San Francisco and a couple down the peninsula. So it's very local, the village helping people stay independent and in their own community. How to have the conversation. When you're concerned about somebody and you really want them to move or hire help or get help, you want to start with the I message. I'm concerned about you, Mom. You've lost a lot of weight. I'm concerned about you, Dad. You're up all night taking care of Mom. You don't want to say you should. Anytime somebody tells any one of us you should, we get resistant. So instead of saying you should really hire somebody, you've got the resources, you need to hire somebody, Mom, and Mom's going to say, no, I'm saving that for a rainy day, or don't tell me what to do, you're my daughter. And there's something called filial maturity, and what that means is if your parent doesn't see you as an equal adult and still sees you as a child, you might be a physician or an attorney, and your mom still sees you as a 9-year-old, and she's not going to take advice from you. As a geriatric care manager, I remember going to 2 doctors that called me in to see their mom, and I gave my recommendations to the mom, might have added 1 or 2 resources the daughters didn't know about, and the mom turns to the daughters and said, isn't she smart? Doesn't she have great ideas? Well, the daughters have been telling Mom everything I've been telling Mom for probably 2 years prior. Because I wasn't the daughter, I was smart and I had good ideas. So sometimes it takes another person, and research says that in-laws, daughter-in-law, son-in-law, often have more success in these conversations than the daughter or the son. You always want to support the values of your family member. Again, not choosing something very fancy when they haven't had a very fancy lifestyle. You choose assisted living that's very opulent, they're going to be very unhappy. You want to choose a choice for care based on mom or dad's values. And you want mom or dad to be part of the decisions. So these are the resources that I recommend. I don't want to overwhelm you with too many. One is to find a care manager any place in the United States. There's that website. The Family Caregiver Alliance is a wonderful website to give you information on any issue or any aspect of caregiving, from how to hire. If you want to hire privately, you take on a lot of liability, but they tell you what to look at and what questions to ask, to how to give somebody who's resistant a bath, or how to deal with wandering. One of the things I didn't talk a lot about is technology. What kinds of new technologies are to keep people independent? We have something in our office called video care. Right now it's free, where if a family member has Skype, this little machine, little computer, you just touch the screen and you can be Skyping with family and have dialogue with family on a daily basis. So there's a lot of technology that, again, a care manager can connect you with. Family Caregiver Alliance has resource sheets on different kinds of technology. Senior information is a really good phone number for you all to remember. That phone number will work any place in California. That 1-800-510-2020. 2020 is Perfect Vision. 510 was our area code at one point. And that's how I remember the phone number anyway. And you call that phone number and say, you know, I heard this woman at my Rotary Club talk about emergency response systems or Meals on Wheels, or, you know, some Rotaries have, do you guys do repairs for seniors, this club? Some of the Rotaries mostly in the Walnut Creek area, Bruce? Yes. Walnut Creek, Orinda, about 6 or 7 Rotaries in Contra Costa have home repair. And any senior can call them, and like once a month on a Saturday, they go fix faucets or gates or drawers or whatever it is a senior might need, little handyman services. So the local, sometimes senior information, sometimes it's the care manager that knows about the local resources, and Rotary comes to the rescue in Contra Costa County. AARP is a good place to look. The VA Resource Center. That benefit I talked to you about that you can get through benefitscheckup.org, which is that last resource on that list. If you can't remember that, and you need to know that the VA Resource Center is in every county, and every county has a VA Resource Center, because they want you to get those VA national benefits so you don't go on the county rolls. Saves the county money if you get your money from the VA Resource Center. So they have, the county hires people in VA resource centers, again, throughout the state of California to help you get your benefits. And benefits checkup is going to, again, not just tell you if you're entitled to the VA benefit or not. But my mom, she recently passed, but she was almost said that you have to have like less than $90,000 of cash assets. She was almost there. She would have gotten my father's benefits to help pay for her small assisted living. If she lived a little longer, there's my question. Questions? I covered a lot in a very short period of time.
That benefitscheckup.org, does that relate to everybody throughout the United States?
Yes.
Okay.
It's national.
You talked about 4 or 5 levels of care. I've done some research for some elderly people. I'm only familiar with 3 levels of care. Could you sort of expand on those?
Okay. 3 or 4 levels of care. It could be 5 levels of care in assisted living. In assisted living, when you go, these are independently owned, as you know. They assess you, and they say you need 2 levels. And so the levels are in the assisted living. But when we think about licensed assisted living, we have the small residential care home, and we have large assisted living. They're the same license, but then there are specific dementia, either freestanding for people with dementia, or within a bigger complex is a dementia floor, usually costs more, $5,000 to $6,000, sometimes even more, and in a shared room, so it's much more expensive, that dementia care. And then we have skilled care. So within that whole care system, there are different levels of care. Medi-Cal and Medicaid, the only pay for skilled nursing if people run out of money. But couples can have up to $113,000. They could have even more with some good legal planning. The well spouse could have a lot more money and get Medi-Cal to pay for skilled nursing, but not assisted living, not small board and care, only skilled care.
Being in the long-term care insurance business, I'd be interested in your perception of the opportunities or the pluses and minuses that you see in your experience
Of long-term care?
Yeah, insurance. Having insurance versus not, and the impact on the family.
Well, interesting you say that, David, because just, I think it was 2 weeks ago, I did a PR newswire, I think you have a copy of that. The RAND Corporation did a study on the cost of dementia. They feel that families are spending $40,000 a year to care for somebody with dementia, times 20 years people live with that diagnosis, that's $800,000. Do I think long-term care insurance is a benefit most families should have? Yes. Do I think that some of them can afford it? It gets very expensive by the time my clients come to see me. They're either too old for it or it's too expensive for them to pay for. So that's something to think about when you're in your 50s and 60s.
In your position as being on the other end.
Of receiving insurance?
Yeah, and how do you compare families who have insurance versus those who don't?
Well, I think somebody that has insurance is more willing to use their insurance benefit than that couple that's saying we're saving for a rainy day, we don't want to spend our money, but we have a benefit, we want to use it. Sometimes people want to use it. My experience of 30 years is sometimes people don't even want to use their insurance benefit, they're saving it. You know, you want to use your insurance benefit if you've paid into it. And again, the cost of care in skilled nursing in a private room, my mother was paying $10,000 a month for a private room in skilled nursing. Very expensive. So you can go from $2,800 to $10,000, and again, expensive care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I'm at 1:30.
30, exactly.
And any other questions?
Yeah, I'll take another question.
Oh, I wanted to say that the pulse form that Ron talked about is over here. If you have the EMT visit you because you've had a crisis, unless you have that, they're going to resuscitate you. So you must have the pink pulse form, and there's copies of that there. There's a sign up for
Where should it be?
newsletter. What?
Where should it be?
The pulse form? Where should it be? On your refrigerator or the back of your front door? You have to have it. You have to hand it to the EMT when they get there, or they will resuscitate you.
But what if you're
They will resuscitate you if you don't have that document.
You gotta have somebody else in the house.
Robert, last call.
What was that in Glenwood down in Bakersfield where the nurse wouldn't help that woman who died?
Right. That was in an independent. The lady in Glenwood was in an independent housing, and she wouldn't help. She wasn't really a nurse. She was a care coordinator, a lot different than a licensed nurse, and she wouldn't help her because the liability of that building says if you don't know what you're doing, don't help. So that's what was going on there. But she didn't want to be, it worked out for her benefit because she didn't want to be resuscitated according to her family. But again, we all need to prepare for each one of us and our family members. And I do have a big stack of the pulse form. Sorry, in 20 minutes I don't have enough time to talk about everything, but those are the dilemmas. Thank you.
Well, then one of the dilemmas you'll have as you get older is what time do you start drinking? So in this club, anytime after 1:30 is good. And if you want to drink some good wine, this is made by Larry Ratto. He forgot he made it, but Larry made this wine. from Monarch Winery up in